Who are Borant? You think the dungeon itself is the villain of the story. That's not right. It's a product. The company that makes it is the villain, but they're broke. Enter the Borant Corporation. At one time one of the most powerful corporations in the galaxy, yet also one of the most pathetic. So what exactly is this once mighty but now sad company? On paper, they are still a megacorporation, still a big deal for those not in the know. They're the current regent leader of Earth, which means they own what's left after it's been flattened. They're also responsible for this season of dungeon crawler world Earth that has laid waste to our flawed but spectacular planet. Borant is run by a species called the Kua-Tin. Fish-like aliens. The Kua-Tin are run by an ultra-nationalist party in their home system called the Bloom. Officially, Borant is a mining company. They normally deal in rare minerals, but that's not where the money is. There's more money in selling you. The crawl is the real profit center. The income is advertising, licensing, broadcast rights, merchandising, sponsorships. It's an entire entertainment empire built on people dying in a dungeon while it's broadcast to the galaxy. Borant doesn't get to run the show very often, so they don't get to reap the rewards as much as they'd like, which is strange since they have a reputation for building elaborate and entertaining dungeons. There's a big tell to how bad they're doing when they do get the chance to run the Earth season, and that is that they cut every imaginable corner. The almighty org chart. For new readers, and I'll admit a multiple-time series reader like myself, it can get kind of confusing with all the names being thrown around and the power struggles between them all. Borant, the Syndicate, the System, Kua-Tin, Networks, Dynasties, the insane System AI. It's easy to think that all of it is part of the same evil blob. But they're not, and it is worth the time to get it straight, as I'm sure the future of the series will involve the worlds outside the dungeon a whole lot more than they already have been. At the very top is the Syndicate. This is the galaxy-spanning government overseeing 3 billion star systems. These are the true big bad of the series. The Syndicate finds planets like Earth to seize and strip for resources. The mining is almost them going through the motions because, as I covered, the real money is in the crawl. Below them is Borant. They're the contractor running the season. They're basically the production company with a franchise license. As the story unfolds, we find that Borant isn't even running their own dungeon within their own season. The thing that's actually operating the crawl, that is, building the floors, controlling the physics, dispersing loot, running the monsters, all of that is the System AI, an ancient artificial intelligence that Borant designs for but does not have full control over. Borant draws up the plans, the Crawl Council signs off, and the AI does the rest. How much control does Borant actually have over their own AI? I'd say if the AI wills it, none. On the 3rd floor, Carl pulls off one of his impossible Carl plans and the System AI rules in his favor, handing out prizes so expensive they could sink the whole company. So Borant does the only thing it can. It drags its own AI's decision into Syndicate Court, but it loses. And to claw the prizes back, it's forced to burn its one and only veto for the entire season. Keep in mind, this is the 3rd floor out of 18. They normally would have saved that veto for later in the game. And the AI's response to getting overruled? Spite. It slaps everyone involved with a petty, even more expensive achievement just to make Borant pay anyway. Even when Borant wins, it loses. What Borant wants. Borant's primary want is pretty simple. They want money. It's how they want the money that's interesting. Borant only gets paid after their season of Dungeon Crawler World ends. Up until that point, every crawler is a revenue stream in all the ways that I listed earlier. Borant's incentives are simple but pretty horrible. They need to keep the crawl entertaining, brutal, and stretch it out as long as they can keep the masses sated. They can't keep things going on so long that a crawler actually has a shot at winning. No crawler has ever cleared all 18 floors, and the company running whatever season can't have it. They wouldn't get that big payday. That means the already unfair game is made even more unfair because a game where the players can actually win is bad for business. Borant needs this cheaply run season of Dungeon Crawler World to be a cash cow for them since they are broke. Their own government bankrupted their entire system, putting Borant in tremendous debt to a much bigger and scarier corporation. The Valtay. The Valtay have a fleet parked just outside Borant's system, an intergalactic repo crew mere hours away from collecting. Borant jumps the gun and starts the crawl early to start the revenue generator and hold off the Valtay. This is not some grand plan to make things right. It's a desperate move to prolong the inevitable. This puts the horrors that Carl, Donut, and the rest of the crawlers have to endure into a new perspective that makes the whole ordeal that much more tragic. They're in a living hell all because a second-rate corporation is watching their ledger. I think that's what Dinniman's getting at with Borant. They aren't scary because they're powerful. They're scary because they're something very familiar. We've all seen companies trade quality of life and even life itself away for profits. They do it over and over, and the worst thing that happens to them is they pay a slap-on-the-wrist level fine to be able to keep doing what they're doing. The only difference is Borant does it out in the open. They may be evil, but they're mostly honest about it. Borant milks the crawl. How does the crawl actually produce the money? If you've seen my rules on the dungeon video, a lot of these pieces are going to start to click into place. If you haven't, I'll link it in the description. I listed a bunch of things previously, but the easiest way to put it is that everything in the crawl is monetized. You're the product, the billboard, and the biggest joke. The quintillions of viewers are your social network, and even when they can vote items into the dungeon on your behalf, most of the time, they're playing a joke on you. The audience gets a very immersive experience, but no matter how intimate the camera gets, they all don't seem to understand the real horrors of the whole thing. The first floor, when the carnage kicks off against the confused crawlers, isn't even broadcast like the other floors. It's diced up into a highlight reel. Your life could be taken from you for the sake of a TV show, and you may not even make it to air. By floor 2, you're stuffed full of metrics from a nightmare social media. Views, followers, favorites, just like we have. That way, you know exactly how badly a galaxy of complete strangers wants you to die in an interesting way. You end up playing along with the sick game whether you want to or not, because your popularity depends on it and your survival depends on your popularity. Not only is Borant the failing company running the dungeon, but they are vain as they do it. Crawlers are not even allowed to badmouth the company that put them into this impossible situation on camera. If they do, the system AI can speed up your horrific demise. It's pathetic. Another uncomfortable truth to hold on to is that the audience isn't innocent. Nobody's forced to watch. They are all willing participants. The bigger picture. This last section will contain spoilers from the series. If you're a new fan, jump ahead to the wrap-up, but don't click off because it hurts my retention on YouTube. Borant's story has an ending, and a fitting one at that. Remember that massive Valtay fleet waiting at the proverbial gates of Borant space? Well, they get impatient and decide that it's time to collect. Mid-season of Dungeon Crawler World, a syndicate court hands Valtay a controlling 51% interest in Borant. As the crawl spirals and the system AI stops following any sensible set of rules or logic at all, the Valtay step back to protect their still intact reputation for the next season. They're happy to let Borant take all of the blame for the current mess. Borant spends most of the series acting like a power player. They end up being reduced to an insignificant footnote. They're roped into a situation, used up as a resource, and then discarded when they're no longer useful. This is fitting since it's almost exactly like the crawlers, except Borant actually did something to put themselves in the bad position. The verdict on Borant. Here's where I land with Borant. They want you to see an intergalactic juggernaut running the whole thing, but what they actually are is a broke company that mortgaged an entire star system, got repoed, desperate, and embarrassed. They're so powerless they can't even control their own AI. Borant is not innocent, but I wouldn't say they're the devil either. That's probably the Syndicate. You could even make an argument that it's the audience being one as well, because no audience would mean no show. Pure evil is rare, but morally corrupt, craven, cheap, in too deep on greed, we're surrounded by it. Dinniman made it easier to understand, slapped a fish head on it, and shined a spotlight on it. That's the genius of this entire bizarre series that we're all falling in love with. We all tuned in to see a guy and his talking cat fight monsters, and we stuck around for the takedown of a representation of every major corporation who ever saw us as a string of dollar signs. What do you think? Is Borant the real big bad of the series, or just another middleman who got what was coming? Let me know down in the comments, and then check out this video next. See you on the next floor.